The trip to Geneva was in full swing when the text came through. "Hey, sweetie. Dad and I were thinking we'd keep Thanksgiving simple and quiet this year. Just us, Clara, and the twins. Hope you understand." I read it twice, then set the phone down on the polished concrete of my Miro loft countertop. My mouth curved into something not quite a smile, a blend of a smirk and a tired exhale. Surprise wasn't the right word. It was more like recognition. The confirmation of a long-standing family rule. My name is Ruth Lane. I'm 35. I learned years ago that in our family narrative, I'm a footnote. A quiet asterisk next to Clara's glowing headline. Clara, the younger, the golden one. Married, with perfect twins, a colonial showpiece in Greenwich, and a husband whose name is on brass plaques in boardrooms. And me? I built an interior architecture firm from an empty studio and a stack of sketches. I have national awards and 2 magazine features. Yet, to my mother, my most notable achievement is that I stay so busy, while Clara's kitchen renovation is a topic worthy of a 30-minute dissection. "Of course, Mom. Enjoy a quiet Thanksgiving," I typed back. My fingers didn't falter, even as a familiar, sharp twist of hurt settled behind my ribs. But the truth was, their message only echoed what I already knew. I had already built my answer. I'd closed on the farmhouse in Stowe in September. A picture of rustic peace, white clapboard siding, exposed cedar beams, a ring of birch trees, and a view of the Green Mountains. 8 bedrooms, a vast stone hearth, and a kitchen designed for chaos and joy. I was never planning on a solitary holiday. While my birth family curated their exclusive calm, my chosen family had always been my steady ground. Aunt June, who was my first audience for every crayon masterpiece. Cousin Leo, my personal tour guide to the world via shaky video calls. My friends, the ones who show up without a formal invitation. I sent the invitation to them all. The responses flooded in. "Aunt June, I'm crying. We'll bring apple pie and competitive board game spirit." Leo, already packed. "That place looks insane." Alina, mulled wine and a killer playlist are en route. "Let's do this." 17 people. Not a single spare room. I mapped out a week of magic, trails through snowy woods, poetry beside a roaring fire, a gourmet feast prepared by a private chef, and stargazing with blankets and bottles of wine. Then, on Saturday morning, another ping. "Maybe you can make it for Christmas, if Clara has time?" A dry laugh escaped me. Still an afterthought, contingent on my sister's calendar. But not this year. This year, I had built my own table. I didn't reply. Instead, I poured myself into the details. The house staff had everything in hand, but I checked every basket myself: local maple syrup, thick wool socks, handwritten welcome notes in each bedroom. I finalized the schedule: a snowshoe trek, a horse-drawn sleigh ride, a movie night with spiced cider and heaps of blankets. I even hired a local photographer to document the genuine, unposed joy of it all. Exactly 1 week before Thanksgiving, my mother called. "Ruth, sweetie," she began, her voice dripping with syrupy concern. "I hope you're not too hurt about Thanksgiving. Clara's boys are just at such a hectic age, and you know your father needs peace and quiet." I stood on the frost-kissed porch of the farmhouse, barefoot on the cold wood, watching diamond dust snow glitter on the evergreens. "Don't worry about me, Mom," I said, my voice level. "I won't be by myself." A beat of silence. I could hear her recalibrating. "Oh? Are you working with colleagues or something?" The faint disbelief in her tone was almost amusing. As if my world outside of them could only consist of work acquaintances. "Or something," I said, cool and smooth. "I have my own plans." "Ruth, you shouldn't be working on a holiday. You know how we feel about family time." "Got to go, Mom. Give my love to Clara and the boys." I ended the call just as the crunch of tires on gravel announced the first arrivals. Aunt June's SUV pulled up, kicking up a little golden dust in the late afternoon sun. She and Uncle Ryan had driven from New Hampshire a day early to help. "Ruthie," Aunt June breathed, crushing me in a hug that smelled of wool and warmth. "It's absolutely stunning." She pulled back, her eyes soft and knowing. "They have no clue what they're missing." I returned her smile. "They will." Uncle Ryan ambled past us into the great room, his low whistle echoing in the space filled with pine beams and panoramic windows. "Can't wait to see the look on your folks' faces when this hits the internet," he said, a grin in his voice. "Me neither," I replied, and for the first time, the sharp thing in my chest didn't feel like hurt. It felt like anticipation. The next few days were a beautiful, chaotic symphony of joy. Cousins arrived with their partners, children tumbled into the snow with shrieks of delight, and old friends pulled up bearing still warm pies and contagious laughter. Each evening deepened into a profound, easy warmth, the kind that only exists when you are completely seen and celebrated. On Thanksgiving Eve, we gathered on the terrace under a canopy of golden fairy lights, our breath forming little clouds in the cold air. I raised my glass. "To family," I said, my voice clear in the hush. "To the people who choose you. Not out of obligation, but out of love." The cheerful clink of glasses echoed into the star-dusted night. Tomorrow wouldn't just be a meal, it would be a statement. And the people who'd chosen to miss it were in for a revelation they hadn't seen coming. Thanksgiving morning unfolded like a living dream. The farmhouse brimmed with the scent of baking cinnamon rolls, which wove through the rich, savory aromas of rosemary-rubbed turkey and sage stuffing drifting from the kitchen. Our chef, a master from Burlington, had created a masterpiece where Vermont tradition met elegant artistry: maple-glazed heirloom carrots, cranberry and burrata tartlets, wild mushroom and sausage stuffing, and spiced apple cider mulling by the great stone fireplace. Laughter reverberated off the timbered ceilings. My youngest cousins played an ecstatic game of tag around the hearth. The long dining table was a vision of rustic elegance: flickering taper candles, garlands of foraged pine cones, and linen napkins tied with simple twine. It looked like a page from the magazine I'd once only dreamed of being in. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Clara. "Happy Thanksgiving. Mom wanted me to check in. All alone? We can FaceTime if you're bored." I let my gaze sweep the room. Aunt June and Cousin Leo were debating the perfect cheese arrangement. Alina was ladling fragrant mulled wine into mismatched mugs. Through the window, I could see Uncle Ryan, mid-snowball fight, being overtaken by a gang of giggling children. The sound of dice rolling and triumphant shouts came from the board game group in the corner. Not even a little bit alone, I typed back, my thumbs moving swiftly. "But thanks. Enjoy your quiet day." I slipped the phone away just as the photographer arrived, a quiet presence who immediately began to capture the unscripted magic, the candid laughter, the way the low winter sun painted everything amber, the steam curling from a mug cradled in woolen mittens. "This is incredible," he murmured, showing me a shot on his camera screen of my cousin's daughter, her face alight with wonder as she watched the chef baste the turkey. Pure, authentic joy. It's a privilege to capture this. Just past noon, as the chef was putting finishing touches on the first course, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Ruth, sweetie," her voice was sweetly concerned. "Are you sure you don't want to come by for dessert later?" Clara made her famous pumpkin pie. I walked out onto the balcony for privacy. The cold, clean air filled my lungs, scented with pine and wood smoke. Below, Uncle Ryan was pulling a laughing child on a red wooden sled. "Actually, Mom, I'm in the middle of hosting my own Thanksgiving dinner. I'll have to call you back." A heavy pause. "A dinner? Where? Where are you?" "Oh," I said, the word light and deliberate. "I bought a farmhouse up here in Vermont. Back in September." The silence on the other end was absolute. Then, strained, "You bought a farmhouse? In Vermont? Why on earth wouldn't you tell us something like that?" I watched a gust of wind send a shower of snow crystals from the pine boughs. "Why would I?" I asked, my voice steady. "You've always been very clear about what parts of my life you consider noteworthy. This didn't seem to make the cut." I glanced back through the glass doors at the glowing scene inside, the crowded table, the animated faces, the palpable warmth. "Besides, I didn't want to intrude on your plans for a quiet holiday." "Who?" she started, her voice now a fragile mix of confusion and dawning alarm. "Who did you invite?" "Just family," I said airily. "Aunt June, Uncle Ryan, Cousin Leo and his partner. Alina, Tara, The whole gang of cousins and their kids. I let a beat pass, ensuring she was following. Basically, everyone but you, Dad, and Clara. The silence deepened. Actually, I continued, my tone conversational. They've all been here with me for the better part of the week. We've been having the most wonderful time. I could hear her sharp intake of breath. All week. Wine tasting, snowshoeing, cooking classes. We even went to the Christmas market in the village. It's been perfect. Her silence now had a brittle, crackling quality. But they always spend Thanksgiving with us. Things change, I said softly, yet the words felt firm. People gravitate to where they feel truly welcomed. This isn't fair, Ruth. We just wanted a simple, peaceful day. I have to go, Mom, I interjected, my eye on the photographer who was motioning that he was ready for the group photo. The photographer needs us, and the first course is being served. Enjoy the pie. I ended the call and turned my back to the cold, stepping into the roaring, vibrant warmth of the family that had chosen to be here. A soft knock came at the great room's arched doorway. Aunt June stood there, her cheeks wind-flushed, her eyes bright with understanding. Let me guess, she said, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Pamela just had her world gently rocked. I nodded, and she crossed the room to wrap me in a hug that felt like an anchor. Good, she murmured firmly into my ear. Let it settle in. Maybe now they'll understand that seats at a table aren't reserved by bloodline, but by presence. The rest of the day unspoled like a scene from the most perfect, heartfelt film. Chef Elaine presented an exquisite 5-course dinner that was a love letter to Vermont. Maple brine turkey with a skin like crackled gold, wild mushroom and truffle arancini, a silky butternut squash soup swirled with sage brown butter, and a cranberry bread pudding so good it sparked a friendly tug-of-war for the last spoonful. Each course was paired with a wine from the Champlain Valley, and laughter flowed as freely as the Pinot Noir. We dined under a glittering web of fairy lights as the sky beyond the windows turned a profound, painterly blend of amber, plum, and deep coral. In that radiant hour, I didn't spare a thought for the empty chairs elsewhere. My world was full, right here. My phone vibrated persistently on the sideboard, a flurry of messages from Clara, missed call notifications from Mom, even one from Dad. I let them hum. Instead, I leaned in as Cousin Leo recounted, with full theatrical flair, the legendary disaster of his band's first gig. I watched little Cheryl, with the stealth of a spy, secure a third cranberry tartlet. I laughed until my sides ached as our friend Nadia attempted an elaborate toast and nearly baptized the table in Cabernet. The photographer was a ghost of happy industry, capturing not just our faces, but the very essence of belonging that thrummed in the air. This was ours. Much later, when the last dish was dried and the night sky was a scatter of diamond dust, I finally checked my phone. Among the digital debris of missed connections, one notification stood out. Clara had added me to her Instagram close friends list. A dry, quiet smirk touched my lips. The irony was almost delicious. I knew what the morning would bring, the photographer's stunning shots landing online, my cousin's reels of snowball fights and sleigh rides flooding feeds. They would see it all. But that revelation was for tomorrow. Tonight, I was rich in what mattered, the family forged by choice, drawn by love, sustained not by duty, but by genuine joy. My gratitude was a deep, quiet, and solid thing. The next morning, I awoke to the scent of browning butter and maple and the muffled, happy sounds of a household still in celebration mode. Through the frosted glass of the balcony doors, I could see the silhouette of cousins huddled on the porch with steaming mugs, while kids in colorful snowsuits tumble-wrestled in the yard, their laughter punctuating the crisp air. My phone, set to silent, nevertheless lit up incessantly. The photographer's first batch of images had arrived overnight, and the social media ripple effect had begun. The pictures were, in a word, stunning. One captured our feast at the perfect golden hour, twinkling lanterns strung above a table of smiling faces, with the blue mountain ridges in the distance. Another caught 2 toddlers, bundled like tiny astronauts, chasing a sled with pure determination. There were intimate candids, glasses clinked mid-toast, hands linked across the tablecloth, heads thrown back in unfiltered laughter. Every image radiated a joy that no filter could create. Aunt June had posted an album titled, "The Thanksgiving We'll Remember," with the caption, "When one door closes, another opens. Sometimes it leads to the Green Mountains." Thank you, Ruth, for showing us what chosen family truly means. The comments section was already a live stream. Old neighbors, distant relatives, friends from a past life poured in with heart emojis and fire emojis. And then the pointed questions appeared, like cracks in a pristine facade. Wait, where are Pamela and Ethan? Clara, why aren't you in any of these? Clara's call came first, her voice a jumble of accusation and bewildered hurt. Why didn't you tell me? She blurted out. A whole farmhouse? In Vermont? And you had everyone there. Mom is having a total meltdown. Yes, I said, my voice calm. Just like I usually find out about your beach weekend or the twins' recitals. Through the grapevine. Now you know. This is completely different. No, Clara. It's exactly the same. You, Mom, and Dad curated your perfect, quiet trio. That was your choice. I simply curated something, too. Mine just has more laughing. In the background, one of her twins began a fussy wail. Her tone shifted, tinged with a weary stress. Mom's devastated. Her friends are all asking about the pictures. It's embarrassing. The Kowalskis even canceled our Christmas Eve to say they're going to your New Year's thing. I hadn't announced a New Year's thing. My chosen family, it seemed, was doing the planning for me. Well, I said simply. It sounds like Mom got the quiet, fuss-free Thanksgiving she asked for. Clara was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was small. It was boring, Ruth. Dad snored through the game. The boys were cranky from too much sugar. Mom just scrolled on her phone, barely talking. She sighed, the sound heavy with a hollow disappointment. It didn't feel like Thanksgiving at all. No, I agreed quietly, slipping the phone into my sweater pocket. I imagine it didn't. I walked out onto the sun-washed terrace, where my real, vibrant, chosen family was plotting the day's adventures over coffee. Uncle Ryan was detailing a snowmobile route. Aunt June and Cousin Tara debated the best local winter market. The air buzzed with anticipation and togetherness. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, the hollow ache of absence was gone. I wasn't missing a thing. I was standing right in the middle of everything I needed. The kids were in a heated, joyful debate, a snow fort epic or a hike to the historic covered bridge. Someone else championed the idea of a thermos picnic by the frozen lake, complete with s'mores. It was into this symphony of happy planning that my phone rang. Princess, Dad's voice came through. Coated in that soft, coaxing tone he reserved for delicate negotiations, usually on Clara's behalf. Your mother and I have been talking. Dad, I interjected gently, watching through the fogged window as Uncle Ryan knelt to fasten little Cheryl's snow boots. I'm just about to head out. We've got a snowmobile tour lined up. Can I call you later? It's actually about that, he pressed on, the words family, togetherness, and mending fences hovering unspoken but palpable in the pause. I turned slightly, my back to the view of my chosen family, a vibrant tableau of scarves, glowing faces, and collaborative laughter planning another perfect day. Your mother is very upset about all this, he added, a familiar preamble. I'm sure she is, I replied, my voice level. But you know what, Dad? I've been upset for years. The silence on the line was deep. Every award ceremony you missed, every time you called my career a nice little business, every holiday where Clara's schedule dictated the very date. The only difference is, I didn't just sit with the hurt. I built something beautiful from it. But to plan a whole Thanksgiving, to buy a farmhouse and not even tell us, his voice held a genuine, flustered injury. Does it feel familiar? I asked, the question quiet but clear. Like planning holidays and assuming I'd just work around them? It doesn't feel great, does it? Being an afterthought. Another pause, longer and heavier. When he spoke again, the defensiveness had bled out, leaving a raw honesty. No, he finally conceded. It doesn't. Enjoy the rest of your quiet weekend, Dad. Uncle Ryan's waiting for me. I ended the call, the finality feeling less like a severance and more like the setting of a healthy boundary. The days that followed melted into a joyful, snow-dusted kaleidoscope of togetherness. We snowshoed through cathedral-quiet pine forests, had a fireside tasting at a local vineyard nestled in the mountains, and took a private cooking class where the Burlington chef taught us his secrets for perfect venison stew, his stories as rich as the food. The photographer was a constant, friendly shadow, capturing the sleigh rides, the epic snowball fights, the competitive board game nights, the cozy dinners where conversation lasted for hours. Our social media feeds glowed with warmth and life, and the digital echo reached my parents' world. Their phones, I knew, would be buzzing with the same pointed questions. Where is this place? Why aren't you in these pictures? Ruth did all this? The daughter they'd comfortably placed in the background was now the undeniable focus of the narrative. A week later, as cars were loaded and goodbyes lingered in long hugs, Aunt June held me tight. "We're clearing our schedules for Christmas," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I nodded, smiling against her shoulder. "It's already arranged." "Oh," she pulled back, eyebrows raised in delighted surprise. "I'm taking everyone to my chalet in the Swiss Alps." Her eyes went wide. "You have a chalet?" "Bought it last spring," I said, the joy of this secret finally shared lighting me up. "New traditions." "Right," she breathed, a slow smile spreading across her face. "New traditions." Later, I stood alone on the terrace as a soft lavender twilight draped itself over the silent, snow-blanketed hills. A gentle vibration in my pocket. A message from Mom flashed on the screen. "Darling, about Christmas. Your father and I were thinking." I left the notification unread. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the uncertainty. Sometimes the most powerful response isn't a confrontation, but peaceful, purposeful distance. That distance isn't emptiness, it's the space where growth happens. Breathing in the crisp, pine-scented Vermont air, my mind already leaping to the pristine slopes of Switzerland, I understood with absolute clarity I would never again spend a holiday feeling like a provisional guest in my own life. If you have ever been the one underestimated, the one quietly overlooked while you built a dream no one else could see, I see you. Tell me what you're building. Remind yourself every day of your profound worth. I spent too many years politely waiting for a seat at a table that was never set for me, until I finally understood. I possess the tools to build my own, and the wisdom to fill it with souls who truly see me. If this story echoes in your heart, then take it as your sign. Share your own truths. Because sometimes the quietest among us hold the most resonant messages. And if you're still waiting for your moment, for your invitation, for your recognition, stop waiting. Gather your tools. Lay your foundation. Create it.